Q4 is always kind of a wild time. Actually, Q4 and Q1 for us self-employed freelancer side hustle types, because there's always this crunch to get things done and to pull off a miracle before the calendar year ends, and then to clean it all up and do something even bigger once we get into the new year. Personally, I think that's us doing ourselves a disservice, because this career path is really overwhelming most of the year. And then to add the holidays on top of that, and then on top of the holiday business crunch, you're also dealing with all of the real life stuff, right? With your family, and whether that's your extended family or the ones that you're taking care of or the ones that are directly with you. And it can just be really overwhelming. And I happen to think that right now is probably not the greatest time to set your goals. And I wanted to talk about that a little bit. I thought it might be worthwhile to talk about some options for you as you are heading into this goal setting season that we unofficially have together as entrepreneurs, to think about other ways that you can look at achieving your goals for this year, this quarter, next quarter, and see how you can set some that will make it so that you can actually achieve them. So what I'm going to do in this episode is give you some suggestions. Now, I know that you might be an overachiever and maybe you're thinking, okay, I'm overwhelmed, therefore I'm going to do more and do this other thing to see if it clears up all the issues that I'm having. And obviously that is not my intention with this. I don't want you to add more to your plate, but this episode is my way of hopefully getting you to kind of sit back and just listen and see if you can apply it to the way that you're running your own business so that you're not so overwhelmed with all of the work that you have to do. And maybe you can take a step back and give yourself the self-care that you need in a way that doesn't feel like you're stepping completely away from your business. So my goal is to give you goal-dependent overachievers something to focus on without burning yourself out in the process. My first tip is to get some rest. Like, take more naps, take a day off, give yourself that time off, especially if you have a day job. Take one of your vacation days off if you have any left, just to kind of rest and settle your nervous system a little bit. And I know that this is probably the worst advice ever for some of you, because you feel like the best thing to do to get caught up in your work is to do more work and really focus and surround yourself with real side hustlers who are getting things done. But I'm asking you to consider prioritizing your sleep and making sure that you're getting the rest that you need. If you're already wearing some kind of fitness watch or some kind of activity tracker, then pay attention to what it's telling you about your sleep patterns. I know that pretty much no one gets enough sleep, according to all the studies that say how much sleep an adult needs to get nowadays. But you can probably improve that in some way. But more importantly, why it's important is that there's this great domino effect that happens when your body is well rested. You feel better, you're less likely to snap at people in person and on social media. And I know that there's a whole lot going on right now that you probably have some big feelings about. You're probably going to be more likely to educate yourself and be more open-minded. And maybe you might recoup some of that energy just enough to get involved locally with your local community, or just to be able to believe in yourself again. And of course, the next step after that is that once you start to make that connection to yourself and to your community, you are probably more likely to start that email list or start that content challenge or get on TikTok or use your LinkedIn for all the magical ways that you know that you can use it. My next tip is to choose goals that center growth over increased production. I know that you're itching to increase your engagement on social media and get ahead of things, during this time of year, and maybe take advantage of all the shopping that's going to be going on. But, unless you've already met with a lawyer and you have, a team of 3 staff members and a plan to sell your incorporated company by a certain date, then you're probably a solopreneur, right? and you probably have really good intentions, and you're honestly just trying to make the most of what you have and keep this thing alive, right? The thing about being a solopreneur is that it takes a whole lot of self-care. You're the one who's reminding yourself to take breaks. You're the one reminding yourself to focus on the big picture while getting all of the smaller details handled. And of course, you are the brand. It's all you. So my guess with how social media marketing is going right now and just advertising in general is that people are going to be attracted to more of the personal side, the person behind the brand, basically you. And what you can do is think about how that can work to your benefit. And instead of thinking of churning out content, you can think about ways that you can grow that relationship that you have with your existing followers, the very few that actually see you after the algorithm gets to your feed. But still, the people that you are reaching, you can grow that relationship with them, and you can build that trust so that after the new year, when you've caught your breath and you're not, buried underneath all of the work that you're giving yourself, then you can start to have those deeper offers, and you can start to see your business like a business instead of just a giant never-ending task list. So what you can do when it comes to growth as a solopreneur is you can make some tiny changes within your routine. For example, when you wake up, instead of grabbing your phone, you can grab your journal. And you can get more in tune with what you want and whether you're actually headed in that direction. And that will help you over the long run versus getting up, grabbing your phone, seeing the latest trend, and then figuring out how you're going to make it for your own feed. Another tip for a solopreneur trying to focus on growth is to, and I say this carefully because I know that social media is a powerful way for us to help people from marginalized communities. We help the oppressed this way. This is how we make connections with people who have the influential power that can change things on like a global level. But I also think that the internet is filled with a lot of hurting people who are trying to express themselves and process their grief and their pain via what they're writing about. So I'm asking you not to unfollow everything, obviously. If you feel comfortable with what you're seeing on your social feeds, then keep following them, keep taking action. But I'm guessing that with everything that's going on with Israel and Hamas and all of the killing that's happening in Palestine, you might be overwhelmed right now. And the truth is that there are a lot of social justice accounts out there that are being run by people who don't necessarily have the training and the support circles to give you a call to action that actually makes sense. So what I'm suggesting is that you keep following and you keep amplifying the messages that you feel aligned with, but you unfollow the social justice accounts that just make you feel guilty instead of empowered. That'll be a really good way to tell the algorithm and, just your general circle of influence, what you're interested in hearing and consuming and what you would like a little less of. Another way that you can grow, and this is still a sub tip of all of these ways that we're setting goals that are not overwhelming, right? Another way is to read a book or a blog or an email newsletter instead of consuming social media, just in general. And I mean that within like the social justice circles and within all of your peer circles. For example, right now, a big thing that's going on is that a lot of small businesses are creating content that is asking you to follow and share because the algorithm is holding them back, which I think is an interesting thing and could probably take up an episode by itself, because essentially we're using Instagram as, a platform for like talking about how Instagram is not working, which is silly to me. But at the same time, it also shows how much education we need around what marketing is and how to reach your people and let them know that you have something for sale without depending on like basically begging people to do free labor for you. So what I would suggest in this case is to stop consuming social media for like a week or 2 weeks, or maybe like for the rest of the year, and just see if it helps you to look at long form content rather than getting sucked into short form content that's essentially catering to like the addicted parts of your brain. And, they've done studies on this that like Facebook and all of the social media platforms literally design their apps so that you get addicted to them. So just be mindful of that. And I think that you'll actually grow personally and professionally as a business owner if you let it go a little bit and you stop getting sucked into the social media wormhole that it is. Another way that you might want to check on your bandwidth and to make sure that you're actually setting goals that match it is to prioritize therapy. And I know that this is a touchy topic, especially since our medical system here in the United States is not fair, right? And it can be really frustrating. And then on top of that, you have like the stigma of whatever cultural background you come from, there might be like an overall message of what therapy means and how we all just need to suck it up, or maybe it's a waste of money because it is expensive, right? So I'm asking you to just see what happens when you prioritize getting therapy or getting some help with your mental health. Because truthfully, that's one of the biggest pieces of advice that I give people who are just starting a business is that you should get a therapist. Like, you're probably depressed. And I don't mean that in a joking way, because I think that a lot of us are actually depressed. Like, honestly, if you're waking up and you're sharing these funny memes on the internet and you're making light of how it's hard to leave your bed and you don't feel very motivated and the world is burning down. I know that some of that is like, some of it is meant to be just like funny, haha, and helping you cope. But at the same time, I think it also comes from somewhere, like you might actually not be okay mentally from like a depression and not depression standpoint. And so I think it would be worth your while, especially at the end of the year, to check out your health insurance if you have it and see if you have any benefits for seeing a therapist. Even to get like the first consult out of the way, I think that can do a ton as far as like your personal development and making sure that your mental health is at a nice, decent level, right? I know that there's a lot going on in the world to be really upset about, and that is something that we can't just snap our fingers and make go away. But you can also do some things to help yourself so that when you turn off your phone, you turn off your computer, you're not watching TV, and it's just you by yourself thinking about life, then hopefully you have the tools that you need to stay a little more uplifted and to feel a little hopeful about the power that you have to make a change or the possibility of good things happening to you as you progress in this lifetime. So consider looking into therapy, please. Another way that you can make sure that you're setting goals that match your bandwidth right now is to not set goals by yourself. And I know that this is a big thing at the beginning of the year because we love to get together and set out our goals for the calendar year and make vision boards. And especially like at birthdays, like milestone birthdays, we feel like there's a big push to accomplish things or at least plan the things that we want to do with our life. And I think that you can use that at any time. Personally, you can use that whether you are setting goals for yourself for this next year of life or for your business for the calendar year that's coming up, but set those goals along with other people. You don't have to make it a big thing. You don't have to like get people together and do vision board parties or anything like that unless you want to. If you love doing that kind of thing and you love hosting vision board parties, then go for it. That's wonderful. But just make sure that you're not doing it by yourself. Some smaller ways that you can set these goals would be to, if you have an online community that you really trust and you feel like you're at home there, they've created a safe space for you to freely express yourself without worrying about what people are going to think, or that people are going to like take screenshots and share it with people that you don't want to see your stuff, then go ahead and share it in there. You can say, hey, I'm feeling a certain way about my life and my business, and I want to make sure that I do X, Y, and Z, but I want to keep myself accountable. So I'm sharing this goal with you all as, my community, because you mean a lot to me. And, I'm going to see where it goes. And I think it's totally fair to go ahead and set some kind of timeline for yourself, because, that would be helpful, right? Another way that you can do it is to just text a friend. And they don't have to be completely all over the goal setting process that you're using. But if you have a friend that genuinely cares about you and is reliable when it comes to expressing yourself and sharing with them and confiding in them some of the big dreams that are in your heart, then you might want to try this with them and say, I have a goal. I'd like to share it with you. I don't necessarily need your help or feedback, but can you ask me about it again in 30 days? And I've done that with some of my best friends and it's worked out great. Even if they're not entrepreneurs, just saying it to someone, texting it to them, and then like setting a reminder on my calendar so that I have to get back to them or else they'll get back to me, or, whatever it is that we work out. It really works and it makes you feel supported and loved. And so try involving other people so that you're not setting goals by yourself anymore. And then finally, this is directed more toward setting goals for like the new year in January and going on, is that I hope that you'll consider setting your goals for July. Like, can we cut everything by 50%? Like, if you had to work 50% of the time instead of the full load that you have, if you only had to take care of your kids and your family for 50% of the time, if you only needed to spend 50% of what you spend on your grocery bill, like, cutting things in half is helpful. And I think that we understand that. But when it comes to goal setting, for some reason, and I know that there are like some personal development gurus and big shots out there who really push for this, like, what is your 12-month plan? You got to show it to me and show me where it's all set out. I think that works for some people. But let's say, even if that applies to you and it's not working, then like that, this is for you, okay? Let's set your goals for July instead. Set it for July. We're only talking about now through 6 months from now, instead of this is how I'm going to completely overhaul my life in the next calendar year, despite the fact that like the past 5 years have been completely unpredictable. So try that out. Try setting goals for a shorter time span instead of expecting so much of yourself. All right, friends, that is my advice for today. I hope that you found it helpful, and that those of you who are really overwhelmed right now with the things that you want to do, despite all of the chaos in the world and all of the pain and grief that we're all going through, I hope that you'll take time to consider taking care of yourself, reaching out to other people, not doing this alone, and then significantly cutting down the expectations that you have for yourself. Because I know that you're doing really good work, and I still believe that you can accomplish it, but maybe we just need to adjust the pace a little bit. I would love to hear what you thought of this episode, so please contact me on LinkedIn. I'm really having a good time experimenting and seeing how it works. So get on LinkedIn, send me a connection, and let me know what your takeaway was from this episode. All right, I will see you next time. Bye-bye.